What's up, guys? We're back with another video. It's our boy, well, I don't know if I call him our boy, but I occasionally watch him because I think he makes some interesting points, and you always want to hear everybody's viewpoint, regardless of where you fall on what they believe politically. So let's hear what he has to say about, he's talking about Elon Musk.
So, Elon Musk is not smart. This is apparently the new take from members of the media, members of the Democratic Party. He's not a smart person. And the reason he's not a smart person is because he disagrees with you about politics. Now, here's the thing. Bill Gates is a very smart person. He's not smart about politics, but he's a very smart person. Jeff Bezos, very smart person. Not smart about politics, but a very smart person. In fact, I know lots of geniuses who disagree with me about politics. I don't think they're correct about politics. I think they lack certain levels of wisdom about the world and the nature of mankind, for example, or the nature of religion. But that does not make them stupid. The left has only three critiques that they drop against people who are conservative: evil, stupid, corrupt. Those are the only three, right? You're either evil because you have malignant motivations, or you are stupid, so you're too dumb to know what you're doing, or you're corrupt and you're being paid. Right? Those are the only three critiques.
I don't think that's the only three critiques I've ever heard. But I guess if you lumped most of what they say about, like, say, a conservative, it maybe falls into one of those categories. Either, yeah, I guess, in a way. Because, like, evil, racist, homophobic, whatever. Hate the LGBTQ, whatever it is, they're evil. They're corrupt because they're rich. Obviously, if you become rich, you become corrupt. And stupid, lacking brain power. And that's why they're successful. So, because everybody I've ever met, I think the thing is, people can be stupid on a subject. Because it's very hard to understand every side of a subject and really get down to why, people agree or disagree with something being said or brought to them. So I think it's very hard to have an educated opinion about a lot of things unless you educate yourself on it. And it's very easy to instead not educate yourself and just go in and say, these are my beliefs. And this is what I'm going to believe because that's what I want to believe. But I don't think this is something that the right or left just do by themselves. I think this is something that all groups are capable of doing, including people like Ben Shapiro. So anytime you hear somebody making a vast claim, well, I mean, I guess I just made one, so. But I would agree that I think it would be hard for someone to argue and say that you don't hear a lot of generalizations that aren't really true of the people that believe what you say they believe, and how they act. So it's always interesting to hear this, and it's no shock that there are lots of dumb people that say that somebody else is dumb because they don't like what they're saying. So,
well, it's hard to claim that Elon Musk is corrupt because, again, Elon Musk is a self-made billionaire. It's hard to claim that Elon Musk is particularly evil because he doesn't seem evil. He seems like kind of a cool guy, actually. And so,
I mean, most people that are corrupt and evil, if they're good at doing their job, you wouldn't even know anyway. So, because the reason they made it all the way to the top is they're very good at manipulating and outthinking the people that they go against. So it does not necessarily mean that because they've become rich and successful, they're just inherently not corrupt. I think in a sense, you do have to give away some of your humanity the more successful you become, especially when it comes to running companies, etc. So he seems like a cool guy, but I don't think you can make that and just say that, oh, yeah, he's a great dude. I think you have to go off of what he says. And a lot of the times when he says stuff, I feel like he's generally just a really nerdy dude that wants to understand the meaning of life, and his life goal is that. Everything he does is trying to like further the human race regardless of political viewpoint.
So they're left with the worst of the three, which is stupid. And I'm sorry, but that dog ain't gonna hunt. The reason they're really mad is because Elon Musk suggested that he would be interested in voting toward DeSantis for 2024.
Which honestly is kind of crazy because from what I had heard, I thought Elon Musk was more uh, like a liberal, but more conservative than maybe some liberals are. But his voting records say that he's voted primarily for Democratic Party, um, as far as I have known. So kind of shocking that he would support DeSantis.
Also, he revealed that he voted for Mayra Flores, who is the first Mexican American to sit in Congress. She just flipped a heavily Hispanic district, like 85% Hispanic in South Texas. He tweeted, I voted for Mayra Flores, first time I ever voted Republican. Massive red wave in 2022. Somebody asked about Andrew Yang. He said, I supported Yang last time, but DeSantis has a better chance of winning. In May, Musk had announced he would vote for Republican candidates in the midterms. And in June, he said he prefers more centrist candidates being elected. Hey, this scares the living hell out of the Democrats. And the reason it scares the living hell out of the Democrats is because, number one, they see DeSantis as a true threat to their agenda. Right? They think they can beat Trump. They don't think they can beat DeSantis. They think DeSantis probably wins if he gets the nomination. What's more, they understand that DeSantis is widely perceived, not as a crazy radical the way they want to push, but he's widely perceived as a person who's done a pretty good job running Florida.
I would agree with that. Of the things I've seen DeSantis, and then of the controversies surrounding the guy, he seems well put together and confronts people that disagree with him in a respectful manner while still stating what he believes and why he believes what he believes, and he stands his ground on the things that he believes. And I think if you're going to be a leader, if you're going to run something well, in a way, you have to do that. My issue is that it seems like this happens a lot with humans where they take somebody and they seem genuinely cool, good, well thought out, and it's almost like they put them on this pedestal of something that they could never achieve or couldn't be, because at the end of the day, all humans are the same in that we are not perfect. We don't always have the greatest ideas. We are emotional. We react to our emotions in good and bad ways every day. And we make mistakes. And a politician is just another human, just like me and you. So they make errors. They have errors in their judgment, and maybe they have less of them, or it appears they have less of them, but that's still just how it is. So I hate when people try and throw anybody into this like god status of just saying, well, they're just the most brilliant, smart, perfect, undisputed man of knowledge and yada yada yada, and they just, vomit out praise and everything for this person, and then eventually find out that they're not as awesome as they thought they were, or that shocker, they're not perfect. I mean, I think a great example of that would be like Tiger Woods. Everybody loved Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was revered in the sport of golf. And then come to find out, he's been sleeping around on his wife when he was out traveling all these years. And it was shocking because they had put forth that he was like such a gentleman and he was such a perfect guy, and then to find out that he wasn't perfect, like people lost their minds. And for me, I was like, that's a shame. I'm sad that it happened. I'm sad that he, ruined his relationship with his wife and hurt his family and his kids. Because someday they'll find out about it, and I'm sure it'll be something that he has to deal with for the rest of his life. But he's just another person. So for me, it was no surprise when I found out, because he's a person. People make mistakes. Uh, I think you're allowed to make mistakes, and it's what you do with the mistakes afterward that should more clearly indicate what type of person you are. But I think it's very easy to judge someone when you're not in their shoes, when you haven't lived their life, etc. And then it just goes back to, oh well, I wouldn't have done that. It's like, sure you wouldn't have. Uh, I I feel like so many people that I talk to, when they talk about a situation that's happened, or this is a big thing about politics. People always talk about how it's gonna, their party's so much better, and they're gonna change things for the better. And it's like, when they get in power, where's the change for the better? Um, either side does this all the time. They make all these promises, don't keep half of them, and then people just forget about it. I think there's some record you can track of presidents and all the times they've promised things during their like election cycle, and then how many of those promises they actually fulfilled during their presidency. And surprise, it's a lot less than you think it is. Very rarely do they actually come through with the majority of their promises, but they tell you what you want to hear, and you listen to it, and you vote for them.
And all the things they say are extreme about DeSantis, like don't trans the children. Those are not particularly controversial positions with the vast majority of other Americans. They really are not. So when Elon Musk, who's sort of mainstream center left, when he says, I like DeSantis, they freak out. And that freak out is leading them down the path of suggesting that Elon Musk is either stupid or racist or both. So, for example, this goes back a month. Mehdi Hassan, whose claim to fame is that he was on Al Jazeera being paid for by the government of Qatar. Now he's on MSNBC, where he promotes whatever left-wing propaganda he can. He decided to go after Elon Musk, saying that he is a not-so-bright billionaire.
We are living through an unspeakably dangerous moment. The pro-QAnon, pro-neo-Nazi faction of the Republican Party is poised to expand dramatically come the midterms. We're just 2 years away from Donald Trump very possibly re-seizing executive power.
It's crazy to hear the same arguments, the same fear mongering, the same. It just never ends, man. They say the same thing over and over, and then it's like things don't turn out the way they say it's going to. The world doesn't end tomorrow, and then the next day they're like, well, it's going to end today, or tomorrow maybe, or like in a week for sure. All these evil guys are just going to get in charge and destroy our country. And to call Elon Musk a Nazi, I don't think so. Like, come on, man.
Power. If that happens, we may look back on this past week as a pivotal moment when a petulant and not so bright billionaire casually bought one of the world's most influential messaging machines.
And they're so mad about this because it's like his whole goal with that is to restore free speech and freedom to say things, even if they offend other people. But you can't take away their views. I can't remember who I heard say this, but the instant you remove people from speaking their voice on, say, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, they go somewhere else. It's not like they just disappear. And they continue to convince people. And the more you shun them, the more you radicalize them. Because if you take away their voice on these big platforms, they go to a smaller platform where maybe there's less restriction, less rules, less people watching. So yes, they don't get the exposure that they do. But when it comes down to it, ideas only need to take shape in a few individuals' mind in order to see something happen with those individuals. And I think it's odd that living in a nation where we're talking about free speech and well, ideas should be out there, that people still don't really understand why that's important. It's important because without you being able to say things, people won't know what you believe. And I think if you allow people to say what they need to say, eventually they'll tell on themselves. And you might get them to engage with people and argue with people that could eventually change their mind, change their perspective. But when you put people in an echo chamber or when you delete them from all the normal places and then expect them to just kind of disappear and stop believing what they believe, all you've done is surrounded them with more and more people that are like-minded, which in turn creates radical people, and radical people do radical things. So I think the answer is not to ban people or remove people just because they say something you don't like. It's to hear them and then discuss with them over and over why they could potentially be wrong or where they're coming from. Try and understand the baseline of their belief and why they believe what they believe, even if you don't believe what they believe. Because if you're not willing to sit down with them and at least hear them out, right, then they're going to feel like you won't listen and nothing will change because you refuse to listen. And they could be completely wrong. But I still think it's highly important to hear other people's viewpoints and go with it. I had somebody comment on a video I made the other day, and they started it with like, if you report this, that's fine, but I just wanted to say what I had to say. They were mad at me for talking about a certain topic and what I was talking about, and I basically told them, I'm not gonna take it down. I'm not gonna change my view on this. Well, not just for you. I'm not gonna remove the video. I may not make content further about it just because it's not something that interests me, but I may make content if I feel like there's something important to be said there. But I'm not going to remove your comment or delete it or not engage with you just because you say something that says like, well, I can't believe you have this opinion, Patrick. I think if you do that, you're no better than any other radical extremist person out there. Like, you have to be willing to hear other people's ideas. And if you refuse to hear another person's idea, then you've set yourself up for a grave mistake that's going to cost dearly someday. So it kind of blows my mind. Um, and it surprises me every day that the media or say like the left or the right think that we don't see the other side of things and that we don't understand them. And I guess in a way there are a lot of people that really don't. They don't understand the other viewpoint. And so by lying to them, they just kind of get a lot of people to fall in line with it, and the other people are like, "Well, I got to be part of this. So I'm going to stick with this, even though I might have some reservations with what they believe." And I firmly think that if you don't agree with something, you just don't agree with it. And you say, I don't agree with this certain situation, but I agree with this, and that. So because of that, I'm still going to vote for somebody. And I think that's the same thing that you do with every. I approve of Elon Musk doing this because I don't think you should ever vote on party lines. You should vote on what they say and where it aligns with the truth that you know to be the world. And then you should watch what they do and say, did they follow up with what I voted for them to do? And if they don't, you get rid of them. I don't think we're going to see, a Donald Trump. I don't think he's going to get reelected to office. I do think DeSantis does have a very good shot of becoming president of the United States of America, especially with the way Biden's handling things. And it just goes to show you that people were so obsessed with getting Trump out of office. And I agree, there's lots of stupid things he did. And oh my gosh, I saw a book when I was with my parents the other day. We went to a bookshop and they had a whole tweet, a book with all of his tweets he's ever made in it. And it was pretty interesting to read through them and be like, oh my gosh, this is what our president is saying every day. But I don't think the reaction was, we're just going to vote him out of office and we'll just take whatever we want. And now look at where we're at. It's hard to argue that America's in a better place now than it was 2 years ago, even during COVID. But hey, what do I know?
And just handed it to the far right.
I mean, you definitely wouldn't want like a dictatorial government owning a media outlet and then working for that media outlet, like Mehdi Hassan did with Al Jazeera. That'd be bad. Okay, so it was so for Mehdi Hassan, it's that he's not so bright. He's kind of stupid. Jamel Hill,
which is just so crazy because there's no way in any world that the guy is dumb. Like, he wouldn't be where he is today if he was dumb. I don't think people understand how hard it is to get to that place, to create multiple successful companies, yada, yada, yada. You might think he's a little bit crazy or loony or, I've heard some of his ideas that are a little out there. But the guy's definitely not stupid.
Whose claim to fame is that she used to work on ESPN where she got no ratings, and now she writes for The Atlantic where she gets no readership. Now she's tweeting out, yet another example of people throwing that genius label around way too casually. Elon Musk is just another entitled, self-absorbed rich guy who really is only interested in protecting the interests of the billionaire class.
Which is, that's so disingenuous of her to say. Like, come on, man. Oh, go watch his, they posted a Project Veritas video, which I didn't want to cover it because it's no joke, like 50 minutes long. So with the amount of talking I do, I mean, geez, we could be talking 2-3 hours, people, which I'm sure you would love to hear my voice talk about it for that long. But yeah, Project Veritas released a video about him when he talked to Twitter employees about what his mission basically is for the company and what he's expecting from them. And they asked him a lot of questions. It's really interesting. I would definitely go check it out. But if you believe that dude's just there to look out for the interests of the billionaires, I just don't think so. I think he is truly interested in, like, as crazy as it's going to sound, I think his main goal is, like, furthering the human race to be able to allow them to find, like, other planets and see if aliens are alive. Like, that's the kind of guy he is. Like, I don't think he's this just, oh, I just want to make billions of dollars and do nothing with the billions of dollars except, like, hoard it at my home and party all the time. Like, that's definitely not this dude.
Class. Okay, so Mehdi Hassan hit him with both evil and stupid. She's hitting him with corrupt and stupid. That the reason that he's now voting the way that he is because he's corrupt, right? Because he's petulant. And also he's not so smart. And then you have Jamal Bowman, congressman from New York. And he says that Elon Musk is not a leader. He's just another Republican billionaire who supports white supremacy and authoritarian.
Even though Intel Maya Flores, I don't think he had. Oh, yeah, there we go. First time I ever voted Republican. Shocker. So now he's just a full-blown Republican. How dare he? He's just going to destroy everything we've worked for. And it's this fear tactics, this fear mongering where they just, in every platform, in every form of media, they try and scare the crap out of you and make it sound like the world's gonna end tomorrow if if this happens or that happens. It's just, it blows my mind that people are still falling for this. Like, wake up, America. Come up with your own ideas, and for God's sake. Like, I get it. There are things that even, say, Ben Shapiro says that I don't agree with. But, like, why can't you just come up with an idea and say, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't add up? I just don't understand how people can believe this to this extent. Like a white supremacist authoritarian. Oh, man.
Because he doesn't want his workers to unionize or to pay his fair share in taxes. The GOP just tried to end democracy, and now he's supporting them. They tried to end democracy, did they? Because I noticed that the vice president of the United States, Mike Pence, did not do that. Neither did Mitch McConnell. Neither did any of the Republican state officials. But Jamal Bowman says he's a racist. Why is he a racist? Because he just supported a Mexican-American for a congressional seat in South Texas. So just to get this straight, according to Jamal Bowman, Elon Musk is a racist for not...
Well, I mean, that's the main issue that I think a lot of people are waking up to, is this BS about just putting labels on people because they disagree with you. And that's really what he's about to say, is people disagree. So and I think this is more of a left thing than a right thing right now, is when you disagree with the left, and I've had many conversations with the left where I've disagreed with them, instead of them being fair, instead of them being willing to listen to your ideas, they just come up with whatever works for the situation you're currently in, whether it's, you're a misogynist, the hater of democracy, anti-democracy, you're a fascist, you're a bigot. We could go on and on. You hate all people in the LGBTQ community. They just come up with a label of some way to, like, morally say that you're not a good person, and so we're just not going to listen to anything you have to say. And I think people are waking up to the fact that, well, most people make mistakes, first off, and morality, just like Ben said earlier, has a lot to do with how you were raised and who you were raised by. And a lot of your baseline beliefs are going to fall somewhere along that. And that's why morality sort of changes from society to society. That's why there's not a common consensus on it. Just because you believe in freedom and you live in America does not mean that the rest of the world believes in those ideas in the same way that you do. And it doesn't necessarily make them wrong just because they don't believe it. Now, I might firmly believe that, I think freedom is a good thing, and having freedom of choice is a good thing. But you have to convince a lot more people when you're trying to say something and trying to radicalize. And I don't think any time that you just try and say that the other person is just this terrible, evil person that we shouldn't listen to anything they have to say because how dare they? All you do is make yourself look stupid and make people be interested in what this man has to say right here. Anytime you do that. So it's, instead of confronting the ideas that they're speaking and say, hey, there's some good things, there's some bad things here. Instead, it's just confront their character. And as long as the morality of who they are doesn't align with what you want it to align with, well, they're just, bad people. So don't listen to anything they have to say. And people are just waking up to how disingenuous that is, and how much bull blank, bull crap, BS you're spouting. And it's sad because I think there's a lot of good ideas in both left-leaning and right-leaning ideology that if you merge them together, you could make a really great place to be. But instead, nobody's willing to have the conversations and mediate and compromise and be willing to hear another person's idea and then say, okay, well, I might amend this, this, and that. I'll change this. It just has to be this 100% I'm right or 100% you're right and I'm wrong type deal. And it's just like, that's not feasible.
Sufficiently supporting a geriatric dullard of a white man in the Oval Office, but supporting a Hispanic woman for a congressional seat in South Texas.
Yeah, but none of that matters, Ben. I don't know if you know this. Wow, he looks kind of evil right now, but none of that matters because they're Republican. So it doesn't matter about who they are as a minority if they're a Republican. And I feel like most people understand that nowadays, where it's like if you are not what they want you to be, then you are bad and evil. And when you hear that, it's just a shame. And I don't think that a lot of liberals believe this, but a lot of the people that are talking do say things like this, and it's a shame. I wish more of the more left-leaning groups and people would try and reason with people instead of just trying to say that they're just bad people because they don't agree with them. And I think if politics are going to change, if people are going to change, if their ideologies are going to change, you have to be willing to discuss these things with the other side. And if you're not willing to, well, then you doesn't look very good.
According to Jamel Hill, who last I checked has launched precisely 0 rockets into orbit and whose brain power could not even, I think, illuminate a small light bulb. She says that Elon Musk is not a genius, which it nailed it. That convincing stuff there. And Mehdi Hassan says that it's very bad for Elon Musk to buy a media outlet. After all, you wouldn't want bad people in charge of media outlets, says Mehdi Hassan. Yeah.
The idea that they aren't currently being directed in some way, shape, or form by the people that are currently involved in them is just a joke. There is biases and prejudices among all the different media outlets, apps, everything that you use, YouTube, Facebook, social media is rampant with that, where it kind of just like creates echo chambers. And I think with the new algorithm and everything, or not new, but as they continue to update and progress the algorithm further down the line, you'll notice that like even on YouTube, it kind of shows you a lot of the same crap over and over. And you have to work pretty hard to like get out of your echo chamber and see other things. And to realize that like what you're doing is kind of that way.
Guys, I think that they're in trouble here. If this is the best that they can do, they are in trouble. Meanwhile, Ron DeSantis, for his part, he told a joke and everyone on the left got very, very triggered by it. He was asked about Elon Musk supporting him for 2024, and here was his response.
Elon Musk said this morning that he would vote for you if you were to run for president. Elon Musk. So what I would say, I'm focused on 2022, but with Elon Musk, what I would say is, I welcome support from African Americans. What can I say?
Hey, that's a joke. That's a joke because he's from South Africa. Get it? And the left's like, yeah, he's making jokes about things, and we don't like jokes about things because they're jokes, and it's bad. Like African American means black people. He's making fun of. No, he's not. It's a joke. Get over it yourself.
That's pretty clever, and I honestly, I know this is a shame to admit, but I didn't even know that Elon Musk was from South Africa. But cool, wow, shocker. Well, that's all I had to say on this one. Yeah, people, wake up. Like, we can do better. Don't just blindly believe things just because somebody says or doesn't say something that you like. Like, really dive into the subject and try and be open to hearing other viewpoints. Because the instant you just become so strict in what you believe, is the instant you create all these terrible things that they say all the time about, previous societies. They believe so strongly in this, and then now we're looking back and saying, kind of crazy what they're doing, what they did, Um, you think those people in Nazi Germany, that did what they did to the Jews, you think they didn't think they were right in some weird, screwed up way? Yes. So just because you firmly believe something does not mean that what you are doing right now is right, is correct, that it's going to get you anywhere better. And so that should be a warning that when you hear extremism, where you hear, and I think Ben does a bad job of this sometimes too, where he just tries to put the left in this big, box where it's just always, the left does this, the left does that. And I think we need to get away from talking like that and present ideas, talk about the ideas, and then come up with better solutions, and be reasonable to both sides of a argument. So that's all I got to say. Peace out. Till next time.